point. People are still going to watch. You're still going to have your 4 p.m. prime games and then all of your Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night games.
Right.
I don't understand why they just don't go that route. Keep it at 16 games. Give the players an extra bye week. Give the Thursday night games a jolt because teams would be coming off of a bye, not coming off of 3 or 4 days rest, depending on where they're playing at. If it's a late Sunday night game and they're flying back into their place late, and if they have to fly out, they got to stay home. Give these guys actually a chance to put a good product on the field on Thursday. Instead, you're going to extend it out to 17. We already know now, Eric, when we get to weeks 15, 16, and 17 now, you never know what you're going to get out of these teams. You don't know who's playing for what. You're only going to have one team getting a bye. Well, if someone runs out and has a 2 or 3 game lead and no one can catch them, what do you think they're going to do? They're not, if their positions are set and they know that they're going to get a home game or two, they're not going to go out and kill themselves. They're not going to go out and play all their stars. So you could have an extra week of bad games. What's this going to do to your record book where you're going to have players that have played 16 games for this elongated period of time? Now you're going to add an extra game in. What's that going to do to some of those things? I just think they are watering down just the season itself by just adding more. The NFL is the only sport that we have that when it ends, you're like, man, I can't believe it ended. Every other sport, you're like, thank God it's over. Like, oh, thank God baseball is not on. I don't have to deal with that on ESPN anymore. I can actually turn on and watch something else.
Yes.
Even the NBA, it's like, good Lord, when does free agency start? I feel like the first round of the playoffs feel like they take 2 months. The NFL is the only one it's just clean, it's succinct, it goes by. You're ready for more. You're waiting for the combine, for free agency, for training camp to open. Adding another week, and if it's poor, I feel like it's just is not what you want to do when you could just add the bye weekend and get your extra week right there. I know it's not another home game in order to create revenue for these teams, but if the TV contract's going to pay you so much extra money for that extra week, what's it matter then if you don't have to go out of your way and give a ton of money away to the players on the back end in exchange for that extra week, Eric? Because I'm sorry, I don't want to watch Duck Hodges play another week of football and then potentially get into the playoffs because they're going to get creamed by a team. And it's going to be another crappy wild card game. So I just feel like, look, I understand if you want to add the wild card game in, I'm sure that those 2 games will make a truckload of money. And I mean, that's good for the game. But I just don't understand the 17th game. I just think that is too much. The product gets so bad in the last couple weeks of the season. There's so many injuries. Teams are jockeying for position, even in the draft side, where they're more than happy to keep losing if they have to for a better playoff spot. You got some teams that are resting guys that don't care about winning. An extra week of that, do we really need that? Is the 7th playoff team going to fix that? I don't know. But all I know, Eric, it's all about money. It's all about money. That's all that they're about at this point, is just how much more money that they can bring in as a league.
Exactly. And if they don't share that with their players, which the players are going to demand a lot more, especially these skill position players, which we've been talking about for 2 years now, you're right. You're just going to have the rich getting richer and the players demanding more. You're going to have more holdouts, more of the crap about contracts, more people sitting out before their new deal is actually even expired. Their current deal is actually expired and getting a new deal. It just, again, kicks that can down the road. I'm with you on the week 17 thing. I'm totally against it. I don't have anything more to say than what you said. I think it just extends the length of the crap product that you get the last week and a half to 2 weeks. You extend that out to 3 weeks, maybe 4, especially with the additional playoff team in there. So again, I'm against it. I'm with you. I don't want to see second and third stringers in the last couple of weeks of the season just because we've added length. So if you're going to add length to the season, it still has to be quality. If you're not going to have quality, it's only going to take 2 or 3 years where the owners aren't going to make that much more anyway, other than maybe the TV deals, because fans aren't going to come to the games in week 18 just to see the 17th game where they find out which players are playing and maybe they recognize them from their local college or high school. But no, I know I'm exaggerating, but look, it's just not going to be the same product. So there's just no point in doing it. And speaking of not the same product, Justin, we were pretty hot about the All-Star game. We talked about that a little bit. We didn't have a chance to record earlier in the week and have a fresh take after the Sunday night game, but we certainly watched the entire game and took it all in. And now we have formulated, hopefully, our opinions. And What do you think? I mean, we were hot. Didn't like the ideas that they were putting out there. Now that we've experienced the game, what is your reaction to it, Justin?
Well, look, for the Elam ending that they went with, it went about as perfect as it possibly could. They had LeBron's team down by 9 entering that fourth period. They set their target score, and then LeBron's team was able to make a run, and then it went back and forth like they had hoped, like the perfect system, the way it's designed to do, is to basically clean up the end of a basketball game where it doesn't become a free throw and a fouling contest for one team that's down trying to get back in. So it's getting all the praise in the world as the perfect ending. They're going to keep it in the All-Star game. Fine. My point was someone like Kobe Bryant didn't need to have manufactured intensity in a basketball game. It didn't matter what type of game he was playing. He was going to come out and bring it. And that was sort of my point there of you're taking the game and you're convoluting it in order to manufacture what you hope will be intensity and people to play hard. Kobe didn't need that. Jordan didn't need that. Larry Bird didn't need that. Magic Johnson didn't need that. Those guys didn't need that. It seems like this generation, they have to have it. And look, those guys played out of their mind in that fourth period. I mean, for an all-star game, those guys were throwing their bodies around. You had Giannis going, diving for balls. Guys were all out on defense, closing out. Completely different than we saw.
Taking charges from guys that are a foot and a half taller
Kyle Lowry
than him.
got ran over 15 times in the fourth quarter trying to draw charges in an all-star game. We've never seen anything like that. That's why I think they got the perfect ending. It ended on a free throw, which was pretty anticlimactic when they only needed 1 point. Your Anthony Davis is at the line, just has to hit one of 2 free throws.
Yeah.
Didn't really like that. So look, if Giannis's team went out in that game, they go on a 24-8 run and they end up winning that game by nearly 20 points. I don't think that people would be celebrating the ending of this basketball game the way they did. The other thing, Eric, that people are forgetting is that they think in the fourth quarter, no one ever plays hard. And that's just not the case. We see it all the time. The first 3 quarters are dog crap basketball. It's just a bunch of threes, a bunch of alley-oops, no defense, a bunch of Olay junk going on out there. And then the fourth quarter, typically the intensity gets turned up and guys start to play hard. And I think that would have happened in this game as well, especially with Team LeBron down 9, needing to come back and then having that fourth period. So I think that is getting overlooked in this of like, well, these guys just never play hard at all. We have to figure out a way to make them. No, in the fourth quarter, when the game's on the line, normally guys will start to pick it up. The defensive effort starts to pick it up. Guys actually are playing defense. Guys start to get a little bit tighter. The game changes. And it definitely the intensity picked up. But again, it was the perfect circumstances where it's the next bucket wins type of mentality. Where, again, if one of these teams blew the other one out and all of a sudden you only get to see 6 minutes of basketball in the fourth quarter because someone knocked down 5 threes. I mean, if Kawhi had a fourth quarter like he did the first quarter and LeBron's team was up, this would have been over in about 3 minutes. And then you're going to be sitting there going, what just happened? The All-Star game's over. We lost an entire fourth quarter. Instead, it went the other way where it was a long fourth quarter. And for some reason, I think Nick Nurse was trying to kill Giannis because he left him on the floor the entire time. They never subbed anybody in. So I don't think we were wrong. I think this went as good as possible. So we're talking about a 1-game sample size that went perfectly that everybody's judging this on. I think if you played this game 100 times, you're going to get a lot of situations where the fourth quarter under this format sucked. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. One of these years, they're going to do this. They're going to roll it out there, and it's going to go the opposite way. And it'll be funny to see what the NBA's reaction is and all the talking heads that love this right now, what their reaction is when this goes wrong.
And this is always what happens, especially in the social media era, when you make decisions based off of a knee-jerk reaction, based off a sample size of 1. And you get decisions being made for policy changes that you're making basically off of, well, what just happened last? What's the most recent, and we talk about recency bias, what's the most recent experience with this? And, oh, now we're going to just drive our decisions based on what just happened there. And, you know, I'm with you that you look at the Jordan era, the Kobe era, you look at times when pride came into the All-Star game. You didn't need to motivate those guys. They wanted to win for the East or the West because there was a lot of pride associated with that. And Justin, I see right here on the show notes, you talk about whether or not this draft for the All-Star format is a good thing or whether we should go back to the East versus West All-Stars. And I'm a little split on that because I was intrigued. I have to be honest. I'm surprised that LeBron's team didn't roll this game because I thought the lineup in their squad was far superior. And I think that just shows you that the NBA talent at the All-Star level is really, really tight across the board. However, and I got to give credit to Giannis because he played phenomenal and he led that team. But I do think there's an aspect of pride missing that's just organic pride. These guys want to win the MVP for the East. They want to win the MVP for the All-Star game. They want the West to win, etc. And that's still missing with this draft format because the pride is just about then solo performance and what you've done, but you haven't brought anything back for your conference because these guys are all intermixed. So for me, I think I still like the old format of the East versus West. And I think that's still where the true heart of basketball lies in these All-Star games. As you said, I think that's the way your legends like a Kobe Bryant would have wanted it.
No, I'm right there with you. I said a couple weeks ago, I was sitting there on Super Bowl Sunday watching the 98 All-Star game, and it was East versus West. And there was just something fun about East guys versus West guys. And you're seeing these rivals playing on each other's on the same team, guys from the Knicks and guys from the Pacers playing with guys from the Bulls, and same was, Suns and Lakers. And there was something to be said about that. And I think even going back to that format or something similar to the Rising Star game where you have the world versus the USA. I even think that could be made up where you have that kind of Team USA type of bond versus the world guys who some of those guys grew up playing against each other. They're aware of each other or they have friendships with each other. There's just some different camaraderie there than just throwing a bunch of random guys on a team for a weekend and expecting like magic to happen at that point. So I do think I'd rather see them do that. I'm fine if they keep the Elam ending in for this game, if that's what they want to do. I definitely think down the road, as this starts to play out, if they continue to get these type of performances, if they go into the summer league and do it and more games than not have closer endings, I could start to see them trying to make a push for this in the next 10 years or so. I definitely think that that's part of it. Look, basketball doesn't help itself either because March Madness is less than a month away. And when you get to the end of some of those basketball games, they are absolutely dreadful to watch. The way that these teams foul and just the lack of execution, and they take forever, and they have 55 timeouts that they're using. And you tell your wife, like, hey, there's 2 minutes left in this game. We can go do something. And then it's like 45 minutes later, you're like, well, there's 15 seconds left. We should be done soon because I think both teams are down to one timeout now left. It just takes forever. So this does clean it up because you're going after a target score. You can't just keep fouling because you're putting them on the free throw line and getting them closer. That's the whole point of it. So they just lucked out and got the perfect situation because of the way the score fell, the way Team LeBron started hitting some shots, the way Team Giannis sort of ran out of gas. And then they got that back and forth. You got guys that are just going at it, throwing their bodies out there. What everybody hoped it would be with the 10 best players in the world out there doing this. It all worked to perfection in this moment. My only point is we've only seen this one time and it was perfection. Let's run this out a few more times because the reaction when this doesn't go well is going to be way worse because people are going to say, well, if this was a normal game, they could have played it out. They would have had longer to play. They could have used their fouls. They could have used strategy. You're going to get the flip side of it. So my point is just calm down, pump the brakes a little bit. If they want to run this in some different leagues, in the G League, in the Summer League, whatever, and kind of get a better feel for what it looks like, I'm okay with that. But just don't tell me and don't seem to forget about the regular way basketball is played and say that these guys would just flat out not have played hard because history has shown us that guys do typically pick it up in the fourth quarter. And we've had some really, really good All-Star games. 2 years ago was a really good All-Star game. It was a 3-point game. And then you'll get some clunkers in there, but you're going to get clunkers with this ending too, Eric. Nothing is going to be perfect in this world. And you trying to manufacture excitement I don't know if that's going to work. The way that the NBA is talking, at least with the NFL, they're keeping the game the same way. They're not changing anything. They're just basically going